living free in Tennessee.
Alrighty, folks, welcome to the Living Free podcast. Today is Wednesday, September 3rd, and I'm excited to hear today's freedom story. I've got Brooke Whipple on. Hi, Brooke. How are you doing?
Hello, Nicole. Nice to be here. Good. Thank you.
Awesome. Where are you coming to us from today?
Michigan today.
Michigan today. I feel like we don't know where you are most of the time.
Yeah, that is a thing I've heard about.
A thing you've heard about. Anyway, Brooke is coming down to SelfRelianceFestival in just 1 month.
Yay! Yay!
I'm pretending to be calm and not frantic about the events at all.
Oh my gosh,
And
I can't even imagine.
Yeah. But I thought it'd be a great time to get to know Brooke. And since we've been kind of shifting our focus on our Wednesday discussions, Brooke, rather than have you tell us your whole biography in 30 seconds, let's go back to when you were sort of done with high school, looking at the world and saying, this is what I want to do when I grow up. What was that Brooke like? And what were you thinking you were going to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be just a wanderer and adventurer, pretty much like I am now, but I didn't know that was actually a career path I could take. And that's where, the age of the internet has, gives everybody the opportunity to kind of do whatever you'd like to do if you'd like to be a content creator with that idea in mind. But I found out that there was actually a degree for outdoor adventure recreation management. I don't think you necessarily need that degree to go do the things, but it does open doors in certain agencies and governmental, requirements and that kind of thing. If you want to work for the Forest Service or the National Park Service or that kind of thing, it does kind of help open doors. But I was more of a gig worker. I like the independent style of outdoor adventure. That being said, I did work for the United States Army as a civilian in Fort Greely, Alaska, and other private gigs and industries and resorts and stuff like that. So just a lot of varied background. But yeah, I never would have realized I could do this, and as an adult, I still feel like I'm 12 years old a lot of times. And it's just great to chase adventures. So that's, Lord has blessed me greatly.
Yeah, it sounds like you've done a lot of different things. I've read your biography, and things that struck me is your YouTube channel is Girl in the Woods, a Girl in the Woods, right? And you do things in the woods that people ascribe to Boys in the Woods, like in your early career,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely. I would think.
What was that like?
I think even from an early age, I was definitely a tomboy. I mean, I like to hunt and fish and was outdoors and kind of had that mindset very early. And I just was always drawn to those more types of things that, I liked hanging out with guys because they were doing all the cool stuff. And my dad included. I mean, he was a hunter and fisherman and definitely influenced me that way. But I grew up in that culture of a very rural, outdoors focused community. You did for fun, and thank goodness I didn't grow up in the age of the internet. So happy that I wasn't distracted by that. I mean, it's definitely a temptation to draw you away from the outdoors and more indoors. So yeah, I just have always been that person.
Yeah. And so you kind of found yourself doing a variety of different things. Was it like a subsistence sort of living in that world for you, or was it, a way to build wealth quickly? Like, what did the financial side look like?
Oh, financials were no money at all. And I think that's what appeals to so many people about the do-it-yourself lifestyle. The self-reliance aspect of life is that you're building it with your own hands. You're doing things by your own will with what you have. And my career as an adventurer or, with outdoor recreation has just been bootstrapped. And that forces you to be self-reliant and to figure out how to do things that are maybe different from how other people would do it. And so it just works out to your advantage financially and builds your skill an incredible amount when you just are bootstrapping it. So yeah, that's how it's always been.
So when you were in that time and you were making your own way, did people in your family critique you, or were they like super supportive? Did you ever feel like I'm an alien just living the way I want to, but I'm going to do it anyway?
The only way I was different was that I was really traveling and going away from Michigan, where I grew up. So no one in my extended family or close family lives outside of Michigan, with the exception of a cousin now who's older than me. But like nobody kind of adventured and traveled. So other than that, they were par for the course for my personality and like how I was. No one was surprised. I wouldn't say no one was not worried. My dad was definitely worried at some of the things I did. But he's a police officer and he has seen the worst of the world. So he had a right to feel protective of me, his only daughter. So other than that, no, everyone was not surprised at the very independent, anti-cultural route of adulting that I've chosen.
What would you say in your upbringing set a foundation for you to confidently embark on your own? Would you say that was part of it, or were you just born this way?
Yeah, I don't think it was instilled in me that to be that kind of a person. I just think, I think I was just born to, like, I remember just wanting to go to Alaska for the long time as a young child, thinking Alaska's got to be great. It's the farthest place you can get away from the States and still be American. And it's so wild and untouched and untamed. So forever, I just had Alaska on my brain, and once you get a taste of that and you get some confidence that you can do things, and even if you don't have a lot of money, you can make it work. And that's what I did. So the more you do that, the more you get self-confidence and the more adventurous you become.
So tell us how you ended up in Alaska.
I went first on my very first plane ride with some family friends who knew I wanted to go to Alaska. So I was 19. My first plane ride ever was going to Alaska with them to go see their son who was in the Coast Guard. So I was like, oh, this is awesome. I finally get to go to Alaska. So I just traveled along with family friends to see their son in the Coast Guard and loved it. And then a couple of years later, I was like, this is it. I've got to go there. And I moved everything out of my apartment into a storage, and I didn't have any money. I bought a one-way ticket to Anchorage and took my backpack and my tent and said, I'll figure it out when I get there. So I had already been to Homer because I had been there with the family that I went with. And I thought, well, I'll just go there. So I landed in the airport like 2 a.m, slept in the airport and grabbed a shuttle bus to Homer. And then on the way, like we're pulling into Homer, and I asked the shuttle bus driver, like, where I could stay? And he said, well, there's a really cheap bed and breakfast, $15 a night. And she's got like a bunk room, almost like a hostel type of kind of room for people. And you could stay there and get a breakfast for $15. I'm like, take me there. It was raining. It was like 50s raining. Like, I have nowhere to go. I'm like, sweet. So I spent a couple days there and got to know her. And there was another young man there who was living in the basement of her place who was like taking care of her yard. And it inspired me. I'm like, that's a great idea. Maybe I can get a gig like that. I'll help in the bed and breakfast. I'll do whatever if I could just have a place to live. So I pitched her the idea of like, I don't even want to stay in your house. Like, let me just pitch my tent on your property. I'll do whatever. I'll clean, I'll cook, I'll do whatever. And I'm really good. Like, I will help you. And she reluctantly said yes. I'm like, yeah, I got a place to live. And I had a job, but the job didn't pay. So then I had to go find a job. And there's a big spit of land that goes out into Ketchimak Bay. There's a lot of businesses down there. So I walked down there, found myself a job at a sports shop. They sold all kinds of stuff for fishing and hunting and stuff like that. So I had my first paying job, but I didn't have any wheels. So I spent $50 on a bike. And so I had $50 left because I only arrived with $200. I had $50 left when I got my first paycheck. So I had a place to live, and I had 2 jobs, one that paid and one didn't. And I had a wonderful summer. So it was just eye-opening to see what you can do when you put your mind to it. And also the really important lesson of, if you just really put yourself out there without a safety net, you're forced to make things work. And, that's not a bad thing.
I'm wearing the Burn the Bridges shirt today. Can't go back then, right?
Yes, it's so true.
Yep.
It's so true. And life is so much like that. Every accomplishment and goal you have, if you overthink it, you'll never start. If you just go, what if this happens and what if that happens? I drive to Alaska solo a lot. And people just can't wrap their head around, well, what happens if you break down? Well, what happens is you deal with it. And you have to have the mindset of like, is everything going to go perfect all the time? No, it's not. Both my coming and going this year, I had vehicle problems. And what do? You work it out in real time, not before, because you're not there yet. And you don't dwell on it because you had a problem before. You're in the moment, dealing with it is in a calm way. And life is so good when you live that way. Like, no worries, just handle it. Handle it in the moment, and everything is good.
So it's funny that you say that, because that's been the message of my week as I've been like praying and meditating on where to go next.
Yeah.
And the message I keep getting is be patient, take things as they come, and do what you need to do in the moment, and appreciate the moment. Like, take time to appreciate it. That's probably the hardest thing that gets programmed now through social media is this. There's almost like it develops a fear of taking a chance. You know what I mean? Because you have to learn everything in advance on YouTube before you start. And the problem with that is you never learn anything unless you start.
Boy, that's exactly it. We're in the age of learning. And you think, oh, I've learned this. Now I'm going to go get this person's opinion of that same subject. And then that leads to another thing and another book and another podcast and another thing. And all you're doing is consuming instead of doing. And so I really think that is something a lot of people struggle with. I definitely struggle with it, where it's like, set a big goal, set a short timeline, and actually do it whether you're ready or not. And that's the whole thing about off-grid living and building and having skills and developing skills. Like, I'm not ready, I don't have the money or whatever. Just go do it, because you'll never be ready, never have enough skills, and never have enough money. Like, just go do it.
So you lived off-grid in Alaska immediately. How much did that cost you? You had a tent, a sleeping bag. What else did you have?
That was it. That was it. I had a bike, $50 bike, and a sleeping bag.
Yeah. No camp stove?
I probably had a little butane stove, maybe, which I still have today. I love them. Just a little screw on, It takes nothing. I mean, yeah, it's way more complicated when you start having a family, but there are so many ways to still do it. And we did it. We've done it our whole lives. So it's doable. Everything is doable in the right mindset.
Yeah. Now you've leveraged sort of that one step at a time thing to get land and then develop land and build, leverage that into the next step. Can you tell us a little bit? Just let's start big picture. Why did you approach it that way? And what are the first couple things you did?
Well, I think like everything else in life, you don't have a clear path, like, okay, we're going to do this, and then it's going to lead to this. It's just that natural progression. And you do what you can afford. And we've never been people who live out of debt, live with debt. So what we could afford was hardly anything. And so you start with not a subpar piece of land that you can afford, that is okay. That's yours. It's going to be yours. So it's beautiful because it's yours. And it may have what we call somebody else's broken dreams left on it, which could be falling down buildings. It could be started projects that never got finished. It could be trash. Maybe someone just trashed the property. But if you look at that and go, that's potential, and the price reflects that, that's for us. Like, oh, well, that's sweat equity. So we bought a piece of land like that, something very cheap that we could afford. It was like 2.5 acres. So this was north of Fairbanks in Alaska, our first piece of land. And then there was a piece eventually next to it for sale. So I think we had about 4.5, 5 acres there eventually. We didn't buy the next piece until we could afford it. But the power company had come down the road and cut trees to put the power line in. Well, they were our trees. So we thought, well, there's logs there already cut. There's a few more logs we can cut. So that was the basis of our first cabin, which was 12 by 12 with a half loft. And so what it looks like is not like what you see on reality TV, where it's like people show up with heavy equipment and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of tools and knowledge, and they bust out this like ranch that's 5 stories tall and glass, beautiful windows. No, you do something extremely small that's doable in a summer. And that for us was a 12 by 12 cabin with a half loft. That's doable with the logs we have on property. So very little invested in there other than our time. And we were both working jobs at the time. So that's like, you come home, you're living in a tent, and in the evenings you're working on your land. And it's the most blessed, enjoyable thing. I personally can't get enough of land development. When I see a piece of raw land, I'm just like, it's like licking the lollipop. Like, how many licks? Like, it's so good. Oh, I love dialing in land. Like, it's my favorite. So when it's your own and you own it, and it's like this pride, and you clean it up and you make something of it. And then when you're ready to move on, to answer your second question, then we built a bigger cabin on that property. Same property. Now we've got a little guest cabin, and now we've got a bigger house cabin. And so once we had that, well, then we decided we did want to move. And now we've got all this equity into this, what was originally a junk piece of land, but we did it all in cash, and we did it all with our own hands, really slow and painfully, because that's how those things go. Then you get all this equity back that you can take. And usually for us, this is how we operate. We go find another junk piece of land that's super cheap and start all over. And now you've got money to play with, but still we've never been the people that go, oh, now we can afford tractors and now we can afford contractors. No, we still go at it the same process, like do everything by hand, do everything on our own. And yeah, there is a cost to that. It's a cost of your time. And sometimes it's really, all the time it's hard. It's hard. I had 2 little kids. Like, if you're in that season with kids complicate everything. I mean, and you're still living in a tent, or you're living in a 12-foot camper, and you're still hauling water. I mean, we lived without water for 10 years. And so bathing and cooking, and you're hauling water, but it's the joy of doing it on your own and having it. No one can take it away from you. No one can take your skills away, and everything compounds on the other. So as far as changing properties, when you do it like that, you build so much equity. And then the next place is better because you're better at your skills. And so that just keeps going. If you keep moving, you just keep leveling up, and the equity pays you back. So it's really easy to do that, relatively. If you are willing to suffer, you have to be willing to do it the hard way. Because if your mind is like, I can't live in a tent, I can't live in a camper, I got to have this, I got to have that, then you're limiting yourself to a higher, you're an expensive girl, or expensive guy, whatever. Like if you've got to have certain amenities, well, then your dream needs to be adjusted because it just, unless you have the money, the only thing that solves that is money. But if you have a money problem, then you got to do everything the hard way. So we've always not had a lot of money. So you do things hard and you level up as you go.
But so early on, you made cabins out of logs, which meant you had to figure out how to make cabins out of logs, which then also meant you had to figure out how to build things inside the cabin with logs, which are non-standard, right? How many times in that first property did you have to redo the thing you were starting to build because you realized that's not going to work? Like,
Dave came from a construction background as far as like he was a concrete guy. So he had never built a log cabin. He was definitely the main builder. I mean, I definitely was there helping. I've always said I'm a great laborer. Now I'm a great builder also, but I wasn't at the time. I was just like, tell me what to do. I got muscle, I got energy, I can do whatever. So he was really the brains behind the actual construction, and he's very good at it. But he also didn't have any log cabin construction experience. Like you literally have to just figure it out as you go if you don't have any experience, which I think most people don't that are trying to do this kind of a lifestyle. But that should not stop you. You have to just it's like my trip to Alaska. Did I know how I was going to find a place to live, get a job, get to my job? No, I didn't. But you have to get to that place first and then you figure it out. It's like people ask me, how did you build a cabin? When I'm like, you don't build the cabin. You drop the posts for the foundation. And then you make sure it's square. Like I don't even think about the whole cabin being done, or I'd never start. I only have to start with like, what do I not know how to do right now, and figure that out and then move on. And so a lot of people just get caught with the big picture, where really you should just go, okay, what does it take to find land? Like start there and just one step at a time, learn the skills. And it is learning by doing, even if it means you screw up, you got to redo it. I mean, all my builds, I've made so many mistakes and you go, oh, now I know. And the next time you won't make that mistake again, but you just got to learn as you go. That's it.
yeah, I'm the queen of cutting trim the wrong way.
Oh, trim. Yes. Oh my gosh. I've screwed that up. I know what you're talking about.
It's like caulk isn't going to hide that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that's what trim is for, to hide all your mistakes anyway. So when the trim's off, it's like, dang it. Totally.
Yeah. There was a lot of, I think I did find a YouTube tutorial on that one after I had like psyched myself out, read 7 articles, still cut them wrong. And you're like, oh, I have to buy another piece.
I totally feel you, man. Totally.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So how do you think it would have been differently had you embarked on your first piece of land without Dave?
Well, I don't think at the time, I would say maybe I didn't have the confidence, but I don't know, not being in that mindset, I didn't know. Like I probably would have gone and just rented a dry cabin somewhere. Like, yeah, it's a little more daunting by yourself. But I wasn't by myself to put myself in that mindset. So now I can do it. I mean, I am doing a log cabin by myself. So I do have that confidence now, but it is because I want to now. Like then I'm coupled up. So like it's a couple project. It's not a single project. So I don't know. I don't know what I would have done. I probably would have just kept doing gig work and bouncing around because I'm a bouncy girl. I like to go and do new things in new places, and I'm a little restless. I'm trying to be much better with that, but
yeah, I was going to say, how does that balance out with having a family?
I think we confound a lot of people because Dave and I have different YouTube channels. So everyone's like, you're always apart. Well, the fact is we're always together. We have lived this unconventional lifestyle for 20 some years, not having regular like 9 to 5 jobs for most of it. We're together all the time. So they see like, oh, I'm not in his video. He's not in my video. Well, they're getting a divorce. I think there's actually a video out there like Girl in the Woods tragedy. And it's like, are they still married? And like, oh my goodness. So we're very independent, both of us, but we're both together. But we have our own separate channels, so it confuses everybody. But I love my solo projects, and he's a guy that doesn't like to work with other people on projects. So he's kind of forced me into the lane of, okay, you do your project, I'll do mine. He likes to work solo, and so over the years, I do what I can when it comes to like a group family house project or whatever, or he'll take like the build. I'm really much better at finishing. Like I'm all about aesthetics and like real details and finishing. And he's good at like structure, like put the structure up and then go from there. I forget now. Am I way off? What did
No,
you
you're fine.
ask?
I was asking, I mean, I asked you a question that's a little hypothetical, which was, how would it have been different if you hadn't had a second person there?
Yeah.
And it kind of sounds like you may not have done it.
I may not have. Who knows? I mean, I'm an older version of myself now, and I feel like I can do whatever I want. I'm not sure I felt like that then. I was definitely adventurous, but I had no building skill and maybe would not have believed I could. I don't know. It's hard to know what I would have thought. Yeah.
Well, I was kind of curious because I developed what building skills I have because I bought a house I could barely afford in Portland, Oregon. It was like an old 1900 one. And on my first week there, the hot water heater broke.
Oh.
And my best friend at the time, he came over and he said, your housewarming gift is a $200 water heater, and I'm going to show you how to install it. And then my dad came over and showed me how to like reframe this thing around a piece of plumbing that was, because, again, nothing is standard, right?
Yeah.
Weird plumbing that wasn't there when the house was built. And because of that, I developed this fearlessness about just trying. It did mean I had to hang the ceiling in that house 4 times because yeah, I'm now like, I think wood paneling is my answer to everything now, because I hate drywall that much after that house. But
I agree. I hate drywall with a passion. It's hard and I don't like it.
Yeah.
Especially
like
overhead.
it's heavy.
Yes. Well, that's awesome. Good for you. I mean, that is exactly how you do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
And
like
I think
way out of
that
your
was, like,
comfort zone.
similarly, you had somebody there who could kind of be like, okay, go be fearless. And you're like, okay, no, I'm fearless.
Yes. Yes.
So I think the reason I was going there is like, what can we do to help other people? Because I don't think it's just a girl boy thing in this case. I think it's just a start thing. How do we help people get over that Icantium sort of thing that they have?
Well, I think it's like what I said before is like, you can't look at the whole big problem. You have to look at the first part of the problem and stop right there. Like, I don't know how to do the foundation. I don't know what kind of foundation to do. Well, that's where you start and don't go any farther. Learn how to drop the posts or learn what foundation you're going to use to build your little cabin or whatever you're doing. And that's where your learning journey starts. If you want to write a book, you don't figure out what publisher you want before you've written the book. You don't pitch it to a publisher before you've written the book. You gotta put the hours in, sit your butt in a chair and write the book. And it's just like anything else. If you get too far ahead of yourself, you just get stuck in the overlearning mode. I really feel like that is where people get stuck, is like, I don't know enough yet. Well, man, I have learned so much just by just going, I'm doing this. And you watch people give you the big eyeballs and then you go, yeah, yep, here I go. And you do the thing. And then the next time you say that, nobody's giving you big eyeballs. They're like, sweet.
Yeah.
So it really is a confidence issue of just, you have to start before you're ready. because you're never ready. You're never going to be ready. Or you start with something manageable, like a garden box. Like start your power tool journey by building a raised flower box or a garden box. Or if you're really ambitious, like a little tiny like utility shed that's the size of like a phone booth that will have some aspects of what a building might look like. And it will give you confidence to do something else. But even just getting comfortable with power tools, that will do it. That'll help you do it. Sometimes people teaching you isn't always easy. I remember they tried to teach me how to drive a stick shift, and it just was difficult because people are difficult. So I just waited till everyone was gone and took the truck out on the road and taught myself. And oh my gosh, my daughter just did that with the motorcycle.
Did that scare you?
I didn't know about it till later. She'd been danking around in the backyard and then finally took it on the road. And I'm like, okay, I got nothing to say. I did the same thing with stick shift truck. So sometimes it's harder to learn from people. Sometimes it's easier to just go, okay, I'm going to take this 2x4 and here's a circular saw that I've never used before. And I'm just going to like make some cuts and see how this feels and get to know the tool, right? I'm going to take a power drill and get a couple different screws and just screw it in and feel like what an impact drill feels like to like a regular drill and the power difference, and like just feel and do things, or just freaking start building your thing. And you will figure all those things out as you go. That's the place I usually land. It's just, I don't know how to do it. I'm doing it.
Yeah. Have you ever just had something totally fail?
Absolutely. So many times.
How do you deal with that? Did that like hurt your heart when it happened, or do you just like whatever?
No, I just get determined. I just have to figure it out. It's like, you are not going to win. I'm going to win. Whatever the thing is. For instance, I tried to put like hydraulic, like lifting arms on a big wall of my cabin. They're still not there because I don't have it figured out yet. Like there's like some math to do with like the arms have to be at a certain angle and they have to be a certain power and the weight. And like, I put so many holes on the frame of my building, readjusting and adjusting. And then I come to find out I had like a rope attached that I didn't know. So they couldn't extend because I had a rope stopping it and I didn't see it. I mean, it's just stupid stuff that you have to go through processes like that. You have to make bad cuts. I've made so many cuts that are like, this is a project ending cut I just made, like to whatever I'm doing. And like, oh, okay, well, it can't be. So how do I fix it? So it's just constant problem solving. And you're just constantly learning to pay attention and do things. It's just a journey. It is not a destination. You're just always going to keep learning and learning and learning and learning. But the magic secret sauce is to start, period.
Start and don't doubt.
Start and know that you're going to screw up. And just be so determined, so stubborn that you don't stop.
Yeah, a question I like to ask is, what can I do right now when I don't know what to do?
I say this about going on Alone too. Alone is the show on History Channel where they drop you with 10 items and you have to survive. If you go into that saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, good luck. Nature is going to slap you down. But if you go into that show with like open expectations of, I don't know what kind of site I'm going to have. I don't know what kind of materials I'm going to have to work with. I don't know what the weather is going to be, but I have got this mind to figure things out. So you always have to have a mind towards, if A doesn't work, we're going to B. And I don't know what B is right now, but when I get to B, I'll have to figure that out. So it's just this willingness to be flexible and to be a failure, but to not give up. It's about not giving up more than anything, I think. But just being super flexible about your learning and your journey. You have to just be really stubborn not to stop and give up.
Well, and you didn't go on alone one time. You're like, I want to go back and do that again.
Well, I had the opportunity, it was presented to me, and I definitely wanted to go to Mongolia, but it only was 9 months after the first time. I still had some trauma. It's a difficult thing to do for your mind and your body. So, but I definitely wouldn't say no. So, yeah, I think saying yes to things instead of saying no is a good path. When your automatic reaction is no, if you start switching that to yes, it changes your mindset, it changes your energy, and you're prepped for yeses instead of nos. It's a better way to think about being successful, I think.
Now, would you say daily small decisions or your big decisions in life are the most important decisions you've made? I have a tendency to ask deep questions, so sorry about that. I probably should have given you a little bit more heads up on that
No,
one.
that's okay. That is good. I think it depends on your season. Sometimes it's just go season, it's the big goal. I think other times it's a slower, like, introspective season where maybe you need to reevaluate your practices, your life, your habits. But right now I'm in a season of setting 10x goals in a short time frame. And it's exciting because nobody's guaranteed time. And so if you accelerate your goals, make it a seemingly unreachable goal with a really short time frame, it really makes you focus. It makes you get rid of things that should go to focus on the big goal you have. And so it's exciting to have big goals throughout your entire life that seem unreachable. It's also important to mind your daily life, spiritually grounded, thankful, humble. Those are super important. Just enjoying moments, enjoying small wins is really good too. You have to, I just finished this thought about the gap and the gain. It's a book by Benjamin Hardy. And you're either living in the gap or you're living in the gain. And living in the gap is like when you're looking back at your life, thinking you should be in a certain place by now and you're not. It's really looking at what you don't have. Or if you look at the gain, if you're living in the gain, you're looking at what your future self could be and projecting your present to your future self, which is way better than living in your gap, which is where you were. But also appreciating where you came from. Like, instead of going, well, I should be at this spot in my life by now, you look at, well, how far have I come to get right here? And it's just kind of a mind-blowing concept of the gap and the gain. And it really, when you start thinking about living life like that, it's really very interesting. Turns on some buttons. It's really fun.
Yeah, I wrote that book down. I was like, oh, reading. I just got a reading assignment on this interview. That's great.
Oh, yeah, I love reading and podcasts and go down the rabbit hole. Again, you can't get stuck in the overlearning lane. You got to put some of that into practice.
I just listened to Learn the Bible in 24 hours, but it's really 23 hours because he does a recap in the last hour. And it was very
So is that all just one 24-hour period?
No, it's 24 1-hour segments.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, by somebody who's dead now, but it was interesting because
oh, wow.
He's relating things across different books, different, Old and New Testament, that's referring to this, and
I love that. So who is that?
That's Chuck Missler is his name. But it was like drinking from a fire hose also.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds good.
But those kind of things I love to just, especially when he's an engineering mind, so it's the interrelations.
Mm-hmm.
It can really change your perspective a lot. So anyway,
Very cool.
So now I'm going to listen to the gap and the gain, because that sounds I'm also in a place where I have embarked on a whole new giant thing that scares me. How what the, a little bit of like, whoa, that's what I say I'm going to do. Okay, let's go. So,
all right.
are you willing to share us what your 10X goal is? What that looks like, or is it still under development?
Sure. Well, I'm doing a major pivot in life. That's what I will say. Major pivot, and I'm really excited about it. And so I'll be revealing that pretty soon.
Okay.
Working on it right now.
It's not time yet. Understood.
No worries. No worries. I'm just really, really excited.
Yeah, you look excited. So Carrie says, you've done so much from the Yukon River to Alone and all your builds in Alaska and the UP. Do you feel like any of your adventures or builds really taught you the most?
I think
any one of your, so which one of those taught you the most, do you think?
Well, that's tough. I would have to say probably my first cabin build, just because it was also a remote cabin build. So I had to bring everything in by ATV and clear the spot, which I love to do. But like, that one was just so, and it was an A-frame. So stupid angles, going back to the trim problems, right? Like, and I'm just not a mathematical girl at all. And I really am visual. So I have to make the mistake and see it to correct it. I can't anticipate it. I don't know if that makes sense. I actually have to solve the problem in front of me, like it's already broke, like it's a bad thing, and I have to see, so there were so many angle cuts and so many things I just didn't know how to do, and I did it, so like, okay, I did that 100% myself with no input. And I think stuff like that, just, it's not like I'd never done anything challenging before, but that one was just different on so many levels. So I think that one was like, wow, I did that.
Well, it was your first one by yourself, right?
Yeah, completely, like no advice. No advice from anyone. Like
also your mistakes were more costly.
Very much so.
You couldn't just run out and
Yep. Yeah. Couldn't run out. And so, and you visualize, I'm going to do this today on this. And then you make a major mistake. And you're like, well, that whole day is shot, because of that mistake. But yeah, it taught me a lot. So that one was just really special. Yeah. So also, just the one going to Alaska with a backpack and like no plan. That was very instructive.
Approximately what year was that?
I think it was 94.
Okay. There was something going on in the 90s where we strapped backpacks on and flew places with no plan. I feel like it was a cultural thing going on. And I wonder if that was just like the wall had come down and we were getting along with Russia and it was like all this potential to wander.
I don't know. I mean, I personally didn't know anybody doing that kind of thing. I don't come from an area where people did that kind of thing.
Okay.
Midwest, we're pretty conservative. People stick to home and don't really, I don't want to say they don't dream big because that's not fair, but I feel like it's a little just more safe mindset. And definitely most people I know, even now, have a safe mindset. And safe just keeps you the same and not really growing. So it's good to get a little dangerous, not in like the physical threat kind of a way, but like challenging everything about yourself, whether it's your physical being, your mental being, your spiritual being. Like, challenge yourself and like I said, say yes instead of saying no, and see where that takes you.
Yeah, we have a guy here who's in, I don't know if he's still in. This guy started a business where he teaches how to use radios for communication without pushing the ham license, because in an emergency, who cares? And then right. So and then he also sells pre-programmed setups so that you don't have to figure all that.
Oh, nice.
So it's called Radio Made Easy. His first year out, I think he said yes to everything. Every class somebody wanted him to teach, and he was going all over the country.
Sweet.
So that was his thing. He's like, I'm just going to say yes to everything, Nicole. I was like, okay.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Good for you. Yeah, good for him. I mean, yeah, that's awesome.
So how do you address mindset issues when they come up for you? Because I think mindset issues come up for everybody where we're like, I need to adjust that.
I've just done so much that has bolstered my mindset. I really feel like there's nothing I can't do. And that's not from a bragging standpoint. It's just from like, I have proven to myself that I just don't let anything stop me. And I think you just need some small wins in some big challenges. Bigger and big for you is relative, right? Your challenge, something that challenges you might be different than something that challenges me. So pick something that challenges you and say yes to it. And what happens is it just like your mindset just starts to build into a place that there is no ceiling. And there's nothing more powerful for motivation than your own self realization that you are able. It's I love mindset. I love talking to people. Dave and I both just love talking people into things. Like we love it because you can see an energy come up in people that you ever been around people that are just like their energy is just, and you get so jazzed and you just want to do things, and that is contagious, and it's so easy to grab that gear, and once you grab it, there you go, you're that person, you're that energy for everybody out there, and now you're inspiring people. So mindset, it trickles in, and then it's like a snowball, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's also realizing it. So I just watched somebody on one of our social groups. They bought a home, so they're debt free. They sold something that they had a mortgage on, bought a more a cheaper place that's going to need some work, and not so you're going to be shocked to hear this. In the 11th hour, there were issues with closing.
Of course.
Because something, something wasn't disclosed. I don't know.
Of course.
And she's like, I am down here with all my stuff in a truck that I just had to find somewhere to park. And I don't even know if I have a house like later this week or not. And then it closed. And now she's faced with, when you buy a piece of property that's dilapidated, it's like, you got to get the garbage off. You got to everything.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
And that's such a victory and such a reason to celebrate.
It is such a victory. Yes.
But sometimes people are like, oh, they Eeyore out. I call it the Eeyore out. She's not Eeyoreing out, but almost like, so it's, when these things happen, you always have those two sides you can embrace. And I say fake it till you make it. Sometimes you have to say the words to yourself to make yourself understand, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, mindset is just so freaking powerful. You get to choose every day how you react to everything, how you show up. And if it's always going to be the defeatist attitude, the I can't attitude, man, you're going to be really hamstringed in life. And so I don't know if I was born with just the like, just stick with it attitude or this mindset of, but just slowly by saying yes to things and doing things that challenge me has given me that. And it's like people asking me, what, like, I'll reference this again, like, what are you going to do if you break down on the side of the highway going to Alaska? I'm like, you have to deal with it. And you got to be ready for it with a mindset of like, oh, well, I'll find a ride. I'll find a tow. I'll find a person. And you do. But if you're like, oh my gosh, I can't do this trip because I have a 2004 Chevy Astro van. You got a 2004 Chevy Astro van. Let's go. Like, how do you know what's going to happen before it happens? But you can know how you're going to react to whatever happens. You do get to choose that. So as long as you know you get to choose the emotions, then you can carry on with dealing with the thing. Choose your emotion. Don't let the thing dictate your emotions. I mean, I guess that's how I've learned to roll, because nothing goes as planned. Nothing is easy. And so you just got to go, okay, the Lord's in control. Lord has my back. Like, that's the most important thing. Like, who cares what happens? I'm going to heaven. Like, if I die, like I had a bear situation this summer, and I'm like, if the bear comes at me and I call on the name of the Lord, because this is my plan, by the way, stop in the name of the Lord. I'm going to try that if that ever happens to me someday. And it may or may not work. The Lord has all control. So if the bear makes contact with me and I get injured, but I live, I will praise the Lord. If the bear maims me severely, I take some time to recover, I'll praise the Lord. If I die, I'm going to go to heaven. I'm going to praise the Lord. Like, I can't lose. There's no, or maybe I'll say, stop in the name of the Lord, and the bear goes away. I'm praise the Lord. Like, there's no bad answer here. So I think if you just are like, you got to be a little go with the flow with whatever you're doing, especially if you're getting started on off-grid land, off-grid development, and you don't have the skills and you feel like it's overwhelming. Like, oh, well, like, start by like raking the driveway, like start putting a driveway in, and things just fall into place when they need to at the right time. And you adjust your attitude, because most of us don't have a lot of money, and you just go with the flow. I really, the Lord is my strength. The Lord is my joy. And that is it. End of story. Like, that's where I land.
Yeah. It's hard when it's so simple, though, for people to understand. I think sometimes it's like freedom. Yeah. Freedom is very, very simple.
It is.
It's not always easy, but it's very, very simple. And so you'll end up in these deep discussions about, but what about this situation? No, it's really simple. It's just that you have to work for it. If you don't work for it, you don't keep it, or you don't have it. And even somebody in a 6 foot by 6 foot cage can be free in their mind. Mm-hmm. If that's the part that it's hard for some people to really grasp. Okay, Brooke, do you have any advice for developing the strength and stamina for solo off-grid building?
Yeah, great question. That's kind of my pivot. Going to be addressing a lot of it's basically health and wellness for women over 50. Because behind the scenes, it's not appropriate for my channel, but I'm very, very much involved in health and fitness in my own life. So I work out, I pay attention to what I eat, like gotten really, really serious about those things, because you got one body and you got one life, and how you treat it and what you put in it is absolutely everything. So that's it. Strength training and nutrition are the baselines of that. For sure. I want to be strong until I'm very old. And I'm strong, I think, now, but I want to maintain that strength as I get even older. So
have you read the book called Good Energy?
Oh, don't even get me started on that book. You can't unhear, or because I listened to it by audio.
Yeah.
You can't unremember what she said. You can't unlearn what she said in that book. I mean, it's so good. I recommend that to everybody.
Yeah, more than one time too. What I like about what she does is she's like, you need to do all these things. Here's the expensive way to do it. Or one of the things is like the body temperature thing. You need to get cold. You can buy a several $1,000 cold plunge device, or you can go to the creek for free. Yeah.
That's a very deep book that takes a lot of deep concentration too. Well, I listen to it. I love driving and listening to books and podcasts, but I highly recommend that book to everybody. Clean Energy. Oh, I can't remember who it's by.
It's Good Energy. I can't remember either.
Or Good Energy. Yes.
Good Energy. Yeah.
Wow.
I'll put a link in the audio podcast notes, guys, because I have the book and I agree with Brooke. Highly recommend that one.
And if you want to see a great podcast with her, she was on the Tucker Carlson show. Her and her brother wrote the book. So it's Casey Means, and anyway,
Right after the show, you're gonna go, I've got it.
It's Casey and Callie means, I think, or something like that.
It's
But the podcast will give you a good clue of what the book is about. The book is about just like our eating and skincare, all the things we put in and on our body, and how extremely important they are that you get the right stuff, because literally fueling every single metabolic cell in your body. Yep, Casey and Callie. Yep, Casey and Callie means. So, wow, what a great book. It's groundbreaking, I really feel like.
Yeah, my dad mailed it to me of all things. He's in his 80s and
no kidding. Awesome.
Yeah, and he's working on living as long as he can. So he's been on this quest for a couple of years.
Yeah,
he keeps mailing me really good books on those.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. But that one, you're right. It took me, I think, 4 months to read it because I had to like read and think.
Yeah,
and
it's
then read and think.
Yes. Yes. It's so much information. Information overload.
But good information too.
Absolutely.
Definitely start in your 50s, not your 80s. That's all I got there.
For sure.
If you can. Okay, so we're kind of in our last few minutes with you today. I don't want to overstay my welcome on your schedule, but how would you say freedom has impacted your life? Like the freedom you've built in it? And what would you recommend people do to build freedom into their lives? Maybe related to land. I don't know. Is land freedom? I don't know.
Yeah. Dave and I talk about this a lot. I was saying on Monday was a holiday, September 1st was Labor Day. And I'm always like, just ready for the holidays to get over. I'm always just ready to get back to business because we don't have a schedule. We have not had a schedule for decades. And so holiday weekends to us don't mean anything. It just means everywhere is busy that you want to be, and you just would rather it not be busy. So that is freedom to the core of like lifestyle freedom, or like if you're, jonesing for the 4-day weekend or the 3-day weekend, or you've got, even 6 weeks of paid vacation would be a lot in America. And that's what you've got allotted to you for your free time off of work, off of your 9 to 5. And so the freedom of not having to punch that clock and work for somebody else is everything. But it also has never been that lucrative, right? So it's a hard road to be an entrepreneur, to be your own boss. There's definitely like you have, Dave and I say, like, we are never turned off. Doing YouTube or being an entrepreneur, it's very hard to just not always be working. So although we don't have to plan life in the context of holiday weekends or a vacation time, it never turns off at the same time. Like, we're always working. But that freedom of getting to choose that through our choices that we've made for how to live our lives is just, you can't put a price tag on that. And that just came from really being gritty, really doing the hard work. And it didn't come overnight. It was very, very, very slow grind of learning and doing and building. But there's such power in that slow journey also. You learn so much about yourself and what you're capable of and what you can do without, which is most things. You don't need to look at what your neighbor has or whatever, because you have what you have. And building freedom it trumps everything for us. It trumps a nice new truck. It trumps a really nice house in a subdivision, or whatever your dream is of like what life should look like. Freedom has been number one for us. Like, no matter how little money we have, the freedom was worth that. And that only comes, in my opinion, with being debt free. So that's a really important component, is that you're not building a life that you can't afford. So you always have to stay in your lane of what can you afford? So we've never had debt. And that means no running water. If that means no running water for 10 years, that's what that looked like. So the freedom has a cost. It's not a monetary cost. It's convenience cost. And so depending on how you want to live, how much debt you are comfortable carrying, for us, it's none. But that means you can't drive new vehicles and you can't go on vacations, but the freedom is the reward for us to live that way. So for us, freedom is everything. And that's how you get it, is debt free.
Yeah, and one can posit that you're living a vacation, even though it's a vacation where you work.
Absolutely. I feel so blessed. I've always wanted to be like, the filmmaking part of me started before YouTube did. And then it just has snowballed into a platform where I could be a filmmaker and have a life of adventure. Like, I couldn't have made this up for myself in high school. Like, no counselor, high school counselor would have said, you're going to be on the internet with filmmaking and adventure. Like, really? That's crazy. So there's so many more opportunities, I think, with the internet now. Like, you can make a living much easier online in having those freedoms than you could when I was coming out of school and college and all of that thing. So, yeah, it's chasing the dream. Yeah, and the freedom that comes with it. But yeah, it's always on. It never turns off.
It's always on. What's the best way for people to connect with you? Is it your YouTube or your website?
I must admit, like, connecting is a sticky word because I'm not very good at email. YouTube, watch my videos. YouTube.
Follow your adventures and don't expect an email, guys. No replies.
Yeah. I'm pretty bad because I just, over the years, you get pretty, I'm almost a decade on YouTube. And so it's hard to reach back out to everybody. I try to do my best. I do try, but email, send me an email probably is the best one, but don't maybe expect a quick reply. It may take a little while. I'm not that great with communication. I will admit that. But yeah, you can follow what I'm doing on YouTube and Instagram. It's at Girl in the Woods with a Z, and Facebook Girl in the Woods. So I try. Yeah, I will say that.
So I've put a link to Brooke's website also, which is brookewhipple.com, right? And then also her YouTube channel. If you haven't already subscribed, like, head over there and give her a subscribe. We are so delighted, Brooke, that you're coming to the Self-Reliance Festival.
Yeah, that's going to be so fun.
Yeah, we can pick your brain in person. There was a question about when Brooke is speaking. It will be Saturday morning, October 4th. She will not be the first session, but that's when she goes on. And the time right now is 10:30, but I will admit that in the next week, things move around a little bit on the agenda, and I didn't want to commit online to a specific time, but it'll be around that time. So if you're coming to Self-Reliance Festival and you want to see Brooke, definitely get there in the morning Saturday. Sweet. So that you can see her session. We're just delighted that you're coming. So
well, thanks. And for those that you don't know, it's in Camden, Tennessee, right?
Yes, 1 hour from the Nashville airport if you're flying in. Tickets are at SelfRelianceFestival.com. And right after I say goodbye to Brooke, we're going to segue into some more like updates about SRF. I'm going to go over the agenda and stuff with all y'all. Sweet. But yeah, I didn't want to make you sit here and listen to the whole thing if you have a cabin to build or a 10X project to finish,
Yes, you as well. I'm very much looking forward to meeting you in person.
Yeah, same. We'll see each other soon. Brooke, thanks so much for being on the show. I'm going to say goodbye now.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, make it a great day.
You as well.
All right, folks. Well, that was a fun conversation. And that's just a little glimpse of what you're going to see coming from the stage at SelfRelianceFestival.com. We are always delighted to have people like Brooke who really drill down on mindset, but also can share tangible steps that you can take in your own life. Because Self-Reliance Festival came to be because a bunch of people were in our community and they wanted to start, learning new things, particularly on the homesteading side, but then also off-grid living and then preparedness and self-reliance. So the first one came to be when a question was asked to y'all, what is it that you can teach each other? And we had a little form you filled out. And that first one, we had like 150 people. We had simultaneous sessions going back and forth at Special Operations Equipment. And I believe I was running from stage to stage emceeing that time. So I like never saw anything at all the whole time, all the way through, because it was sort of a kickoff thing that we were doing. So that really showed the breadth of the knowledge that comes from the network. Like anything from how to make money as an HVAC guy, right? I think we had Tad on for that one, to medical preparedness. Chuck Peoples has been working with us on, how to do sutures and how to intervene when help isn't like right there, which, to Brooke's point, what happens if you break down on your way to Alaska? That's a pretty long, not super well-traveled stretch of highway there. Well, you figure it out. I know somebody who fixed their clutch with duct tape and a contractor's pencil once when they broke down. So those sorts of things are all what it's about. And Carson has said it stopped. So Carson, I don't know, because it looks like it's still streaming for me. If not, I'm sure the replay will be back, or I can upload the video later. So we're going to dive into it. So if you have questions about the Self-Reliance Festival or what's up this year, let me know. Let's start with the first and biggest news about the Self-Reliance Festival. I hope you've all heard. We have moved locations to the Birdsong Marina in Camden, Tennessee. It's about an hour-ish from Nashville. And that facility is a marina. So they have rental cabins you can rent. They have RV spots you can rent. Included with your ticket is tent camping in this. It's a designated camp area. It's rustic camping. So you can put your tent up, and we'll have a porta potty over there, but it's not like, lots of infrastructure or hookups or anything of that nature in the area. There will be campfires. And I believe the Self-Reliance Festival youth program will be over in that direction. We have both a kids program up to about 12 years old, and then more of a teens program run by two different people, which is going to run simultaneous to the sessions. I'm super excited about this. The SRF Kids program was very popular in October, and Becky Cook agreed to come out and do it again. This time, that's going to be in an air-conditioned, climate-controlled space, which is the Freshwater Pearl Museum at the marina, in half of it, so that people can still come in and look at, like, they have a cool display about how freshwater pearls are cultivated in Tennessee, and they have jewelry and things of that nature for sale. So you can go in there for that. Behind that building are flushing toilets and the shower houses. So if you are camping in the campground, you can come take a shower, which will make everybody happy. But along with the flush toilets, we're adding some porta potties just so there's plenty of capacity, so to speak. So that's fun. It's a very walkable marina. Somebody keeps asking me, like, how far do I have to walk from here to there? It depends where your cabin is. If you rent a cabin, or if you're camping, or if you're in an RV spot, you may end up walking 1/10 of a mile or maybe 2/10 of a mile, not very far from place to place. And you can see on the map, they have a map there where we are. We're centrally located near the boat ramp. So, closer to the boat ramp you are, the closer you are to sessions. But at the same time, Joel Riles will be doing defense dog demonstrations through obstacle courses. And we'll have SRF Kids in the Freshwater Pearl Museum, which is near the swimming pool. If you see the swimming pool, don't worry. It's not in the area with the pool. Like, there's a closed door. We wouldn't do that, guys. We wouldn't do that at all. And then there's, the youth will probably be off over near the campground. And we'll have campfires that we can gather around, asking that we not do individual campfires because we don't want to mess up their lawn out there that has the camping. But we will have, I believe, some burn barrels in place that are set up for us to gather. And then the central tent will be ringed by the vendor spaces. So we have vendors coming in to sell, of course, Hollow Roast will be there, right? Kiri's going to be there with her sauces. And I know that Homestead Glamour is going to be there with her handmade body butters and beard oil and stuff like that. So we've got a lot of really cool vendors coming in with things for sale, but we also have a couple of food trucks, and Grumpy Acres will be there with their food as well. So it's really come together well. Something that I think is fun for this one is we have an agenda with really big breaks. So we kick off in the morning, and then we start with Tim Cook. He's kicking us off in the morning. It's scrap theory and use what works to be prepared. And this kind of goes back to when people first come to preparedness, often there's a fear motivation, and they see the world changing and they think, I've got to do something, and they start buying stuff. Well, he's saying, like, don't do that. Let's talk about what works in preparedness and a stepwise way that you can do it. So after him is a half-hour. Yep, that's right. And during that half-hour break, guess what? There is a demonstration. It's going to be Ryan Steva, the homestead consultant, is going to show us how direct solar works. There's probably going to be a second demonstration scheduled at this time because Ryan Steva might be growing a family member soon, and we don't know exactly when that's happening. So if that happens, and he needs to be home when that happens, or shortly after that happens. So that's a timing development thing. But we'll have a second demonstration you can go to. So during that break, you can go see vendors, which are near the event tent. You can get some food. You can go check out a demo. There's all day demos as well. We've got Valerie's coming in with an old school butter churn, and we're going to get some heavy cream, and we're going to see how long it really takes to churn butter with one of those old school butter churns, right? So that's going to be a fun one as well. Then we go straight into Brooke Whipple, who's going to talk about raw land to rural freedom, building a homestead life, one frugal step at a time. And for all y'all who've been coming to Self-Reliance Festival and, asking me, how do I get land, and feeling like you could never get land, this is the session that you absolutely should go see. It's definitely the one you should go see, because you need to, I don't know very many homesteaders who bought a homestead and just had this wonderful homestead out of the chute. They had the sacrifice. I was talking to Emily Hoff from Hoff Grid Homestead, and they've lived in basically a camper for 7 years with 2 children and dogs and cats and all the pets. And they've been running their poultry and pig farm operation in that way. And just last year, her husband was able to transition from working for Nissan to full-time farmer. So it's, Carson, I'm going to guess that Ryan's contribution to the new family member is already done. Yes, but there's the contribution that the husband makes after the baby is born. Anyway, so that's going to be like, this is the session you should go to. That's why I wanted us to be able to get to know Brooke before she comes out, so that you'll kind of go in with that mindset. She's going to teach us how to take the trees on my land, maybe buy a non-ideal piece of land and turn it into the homestead I love. And then they decided to move, so they sold it, which means they probably got money. So that, see what I'm saying? Like, you can make something better, flip it, and get something else. And that can be a whole lifetime thing. Then we have a hempcrete demonstration with Imani and River from Haven Earth, the Haven Earth Village project down, where is it? It's in Old Fort, Tennessee, where they do a membership-based community. And it's, centered on a homestead. So it's kind of related to growing your own food and those sorts of things. So that's going to happen during that demo. And then Dr. Ken Berry's coming in to talk about the proper human diet, and he'll be there for questions. Those are always great presentations. And a lot of people have questions about how to make a keto or a carnivore diet work. He'll be there to answer your questions. During lunch, I plan to do the connection session. So this is what our friend Brenda would call the Find Your Tribe session, where we start connecting you with other people in your area. Because usually at Self-Reliance Festival, we're getting people from all over the United States who think, okay, there's nobody in Michigan who thinks like I do. And then I say, is there anybody in Michigan who thinks like you do? And oftentimes there is. There was one time where somebody was from somewhere that we weren't able to immediately introduce them. And I'm sure it'll happen again. But the fun thing was, I believe it was like Pennsylvania. And I'm like, we know so many people in Pennsylvania, like, come see me. If you're interested, you can put yourself on the map. You don't have to put your address. You can just be like, I'm in this approximate area at SelfRelianceFestival.com. If you go to information, there's like the member map area. You can add yourself to that and start connecting, or you can look and see who's also thinking about, homesteading, freedom, preparedness, those sorts of things. Then we're going to go straight into Joel Riles from Fortress K9, the Fortress Mindset, Real World Family Defense. And he's gonna talk about that. And then there's a demonstration and break, cheese making with Angela and Garen Allard. So they're gonna show us some basics of cheese making. It's a quick demo, so because like cheese takes hours depending on what you make, but they've put together a really cool demo. And then we have Caroline Blackwell, which is really Callie. We all know her as Callie. If you don't know who Callie is, you need to know who Callie is. And she'll be talking about demand health, opt out of the pharmaceutical system. And that's another big one in preparedness, right? Like if you are dependent on drugs for everything, then you can have a harder time if things go south. Do we know any freedom-minded people in Alberton? I don't know, but we'll see. But you can come and you can put that out there, and then we put it together. And then the demonstration after that is going to be defense dog demonstration. So this is when Joel's bringing them through obstacle courses. Sometimes they do bite demonstrations, those sorts of things. And then we're going to go into the impact of tariffs on solar with Sean Mills from Hack My Homestead. He's always been the solar guy talking, and he will be talking about that. And then we're going to have a live set of interviews from the stage with Scott Armstrong from Grand Theft World, if you've checked them out on YouTube. And there is also an unjected singles meetup that starts about 4:00 at Self-Reliance Festival this time. You all have been asking me for singles meetups for 5 years now. And I've always said, great, you do it. And nobody's taken me up on it. Scott finally took me up on it. He didn't ask me for it, but I asked him to do it because I knew folks wanted to meet like-minded people. So that's going to be happening in the evening. We're going to do a wrap up. We do our daily giveaway, and then it's dinner time. And then we are going to show Red Dawn in the tent so people can see a movie that time. Okay, so then we're all gonna not sleep because we're gonna hang around the campfire talking late into the night because we're so excited to be with each other. And then Sunday we kick off again. We start with Sonny Puzikas with Like Father Like Son, homeschooling your boys. He's gonna talk to us about not only how but why. And it's Sonny, so he may offend you because he's gonna tell it like he sees it, and that's why we love Sonny. During the break after him, the demonstration is going to be chainsawing with Chris Watkins, as well as starting a food forest with Matt and Gabby Hundley from Centerville. Then we go into my session. So I'll be talking about revenue streams from your homestead, which is part of the Build Abundance, Not Burnout series I've been working on. And you all can laugh at me now because I kind of built burnout into my August, if we're honest. But that was fun. Also, Carson was being cheeky. That's so unlike you, Carson, in the live stream. Okay, then we're going to go into prepping for women in your life, all ages, with the combat midwife. So Jessica Arno is going to come in and talk about that. I'm just delighted that she's made time to be with us. And I get to stay in the staff cabin, so I get to hang out with her and with Brooke and with everybody who's going to be there. But she's talking about that because in preparedness, have we really thought what we need to do for women? What if somebody goes into labor? What if we don't have supplies for things that happen on the regular that are very predictable often? What about in different kinds of infections that can happen? Those sorts of things. So that's going to be a great session. And then we're going to do a second connections session on Sunday. Then we go into the system is lying to you, what real freedom actually looks like with Tag from Life Done Free. Then we're flowing into a bees demonstration. And I'll probably also, I haven't scheduled John Pugliano's demonstration yet, which is a high frequency radio demonstration. But that's just because I just got confirmation from him that he's doing that. So we'll probably put that sometime on Sunday as well. We will see. And then we have Trade with Other Tribes with John Pugliano of the Wealth Studying Podcast. Chuck Peoples is talking about dispelling the myths of medical preparedness. The demonstration for the afternoon is with Brenda Snyder, who's doing animal first aid. And she's just going to talk about interventions you can take that may keep you from needing to go to the vet, including stopping major bleeds with some herbal concoctions and also non-herbal concoctions. So that's an important one, especially if you have livestock on your homestead. You discover that you are also the veterinarian sometimes, because you can't always just get a veterinarian out there, right? Plus it's expensive. And so you find yourself doing things you didn't expect. I mean, I told a story this year because the birthing season was interesting on my homestead this year with the sheep, that I was really thankful I read All Creatures Great and Small and that whole series as a child, because the stories are told by a veterinarian with detail, but they're wrapped in stories, so you remember it. So yes, I had the birthing reference book and what to do if the lamb's the wrong way and blah, 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 blah. But the fact that I had those stories in my head gave me additional context. And when Brooke today was talking about she needs to see why it's wrong before she realizes what to do, I would actually top that up to a kinesthetic approach to learning. And I'm a kinesthetic learner, so I get it, because I'm kind of the same way. Like I pseudo designed the kitchen in my house. This kitchen, I've been here 18 years. This kitchen has been slowly morphing into what it is now. And even now, because I didn't have the money for the supplies for the cabinets to be built permanently, I have, restaurant work tables, and I have a little bar made out of 2x4s and plywood. And I'm so thankful for that, because I didn't spend a bunch of money on cabinets that I would have then wanted to move around. I've been able to kind of work with it through the seasons of the year, through canning, through cooking for people, through running events here, to say, okay, couple of minor adjustments before we put something more sturdy in here. And one of those adjustments is my outside kitchen sink needs to be my inside kitchen sink, and my inside kitchen sink should be the outside kitchen sink. Now, had I wrapped that in, it would have been fine. But, that's the thing. So when we really think about ways that we're on the homestead and doing things ourselves, I think having something like animal first aid is a big deal. And I'm going to throw this out there now. By next year, I would love to find somebody willing to teach homesteaders basic animal interventions, like giving an intravenous shot, doing an IV, or any of these things that might come up, tubing a ruminant, the things that come up that you need to do, stitches, that sort of thing. That element of homesteading is very underserved in farming. You'll learn it on a farm as a farmhand, maybe, or as a vet tech, maybe. But we have this sort of area of animal first aid that goes beyond just, putting pressure on it and driving straight to the vet, which you're not doing for a cow, by the way. And I think the issue is people are worried about liability. Like if I show them how to do this thing, give a shot or whatever, which I have to give shots to my sheep. Well, I don't give shots to my sheep. I had to give shots to my sheep the first year. And I was like, well, it's a good thing I know how to give a shot, because I've given it to my dog because I was shown how to give a shot. But what about you're faced with a needle and a shot for the first time, and it was a subcutaneous shot, so that was okay. So anyway, it's a very underserved place, and I feel like I'm not the person to fill that niche, but I'm throwing it out there in case you know somebody who would. We've definitely filled it on the medical side for humans in the preparedness community. Like Chuck Peoples is filling sort of that gap between I have a problem and there's medical services nowhere nearby. It's the same gap on the homestead with the livestock. And then Sean from Off Grid and Growing is going to be here. He's going to talk about off-grid living, but he's also going to share with us how he has monetized through using social media. And this is the question people always have, is how can I make money? And he's going to talk about how he made money. And he's not going to hide it behind some expensive course you need to sign up for. So you do not want to miss that session, especially if you're looking at doing content creation. Then we're going to have our wrap up and giveaway, and we're done. Now, Simultaneous to this, we also have ongoing demonstrations, including weaving and spinning. Bruce DeVries is going to be there with a biochar demonstration. If Ryan isn't there for direct solar, I have a solar backup plan that I'm hoping will happen, and we'll see. So let's just say there's a second possible solar thing that might be happening too. And then Chris Watkins is going to talk about knot tying, like show you how to tie knots. And I don't know what else will happen, because once I announce the demos, people who are coming are like, say, well, I could do this. We will have a church service at 8 a.m. on Sunday too. So I forgot to say that. Micah just said he's going to do church at 8. I asked him to do it at 8 so that when we start, it's all cleared out and they don't have to feel like rushed. So that's everything that's happening at Self-Reliance Festival. The only big differences this year really are that the location has changed. A. B, the marina's policy on dogs is you need to have your dogs on leashes. So that means our policy on dogs has changed. If your dog is causing a problem at the event, we'll probably ask you to leave, but you could have your dog there on a leash. And that's some big changes. And we do have some access to flushing toilets, although we'll also have porta potties. And then other than that, you're going to be seeing some of the same faces, some new faces. And we're definitely going to wrap around the connection session. I talked with Brenda yesterday, and it actually almost made me cry. She told me, and I never realized this, so this is my own failing. She said that because of Self-Reliance Festival, she's met people who are like family to her to this day. And it's because of those connections sessions. And I will admit that as the person who's been, behind the scenes building Self-Reliance Festival as one of the founders, I have often wondered, is this bringing the value it should bring? Are we delivering well enough? And are we achieving the goals we need to by bringing the speakers in? Because really the reason to go to Self-Reliance Festival isn't just to see the awesome speakers. It's actually to meet the people. It's like the reason we have demonstrations happen from people who are quote unquote not famous, right, is because it doesn't matter. Can you learn from them? What can we learn from each other? If we establish a culture of doers who are helping, and a culture of people who are not afraid to share their skills with each other, even if they're not a quote unquote expert. I only have to be like one skosh better than you or more knowledgeable about something to be able to show you how to do it, right? You don't have to have gotten a degree in home canning, for example, to do a canning class. You have to know how to can. And then you have to show people how to can. And it helps if you've learned some things about food pathogens, which is really easy to do, right? So, or how to make cheese. You have to make cheese. I did a cheese class famously once where the last cheese I did failed. And I always go into cheese class saying, you don't fail at cheese. You just make a different cheese than you intended. And I showed them. In fact, the cheese class I just did 2 weeks ago, the paneer didn't separate according to the recipe. And I was having them stir and stir and stir. And finally I was like, I'm adding more lemon juice. And then it worked. And I said, so I'm glad that happened. Here's what happens. You follow the recipe, and sometimes Mother Nature doesn't adhere to the recipe. And then knowing the theory of what you're doing is curdling milk and putting acid in, I was like, maybe there's not enough acid, put more in. And that's because we were using lemon juice, and lemon juice can have varying strengths of acidity, and that can then impact how your cheese. See, so it was a learning moment. One of the things I love most about Self-Reliance Festival is connecting doers to each other and then finding out a year later what they did. But I will admit, I wasn't sure. And then Brenda talked to my, I'm going to say she talked my ear off, and then she's going to feel like she talked too much. She didn't at all. I was actually really encouraged by her phone call yesterday about how excited she is to come to Self-Reliance Festival. She then posted a video testimonial and how much it has helped shape the Camden homesteaders groups and the Benton County homesteaders groups, but also connected her with the kinds of people that she could develop those relationships with. Because one of the things that I think we feel in our hearts as missing in our lives sometimes is true community connection. As modern the modern systems have been becoming more systemy, so to speak, and we were no longer super reliant on our neighbors and maybe not attached to a community as much geographically or a church community or any of those things, we've found ourselves in these sort of artificially government controlled systems of community like the public school system, and the relationships are not real tight and people don't really have each other's backs, and it's sort of been put out there that it's okay to just take advantage of people because they don't really matter, right? Well, when you get a community of doers who have some shared values, who have shared priorities, like at Self-Reliance Festival, suddenly you're around people who do value their promises, who do want to keep their word, who do want to get to know you and talk about things and be vulnerable and work hard. Like, that's a big one, work hard. And that's why I love it. So guys, I just wanted to share with you that news from the Self-Reliance Festival. I'll be ending our Wednesday shows with that, or answering any questions you have about it as we go into the event, which is only 4 weeks away. So get your tickets at SelfRelianceFestival.com. We do still have vendor spaces open. If you want one, that's also at SelfRelianceFestival.com. And you can go check it out. We're updating the homepage today and tomorrow with more demonstrations and more sessions and a little bit more detail on what's happening. My goal is by Friday, maybe Saturday, we'll see, to have the actual times of the agenda. I have times assigned. Brooke is actually at 10:45 right now, and I think she's going to be at 10:30. I think that's how that's going to happen. I want to make sure there's plenty of time for y'all to also go see vendors, talk to each other between sessions, maybe skip a session and take a pontoon boat out. I mean, I don't know what you want to do, but also to make sure that the SRF youth program with Alan Booker and Opalyn, this is our first time doing that. And they're going to be like walking those guys through, cooking at the campfire and all sorts of cool stuff. And that the SRF Kids program has time for parents to get their kids to go and all of that to work together as one cohesive thing. So thanks so much for tuning in today, guys. If you want to support the work we're doing, let people know about Self-Reliance Festival. And of course, you can always get delicious, fresh roasted coffee delivered to your door at hollerroast.com, or you can buy it at selfreliancefestival.com because we will have a booth there. With that, go out, make it a great week.